Yeah, well, we're excited. We've completed our fall team baseball program. Like to give a shout out to all the people that made it happen, our administration, our Wesley and ops, Brian Wells, our athletic trainer, Billy, our strength coach, who also was in charge of a lot of the protocols that were put into place, our assistant coaches, and then the players, obviously, and our managers and equipment manager. Just everybody worked so hard to try to put this thing together. And the fact that we got through it and got more scrimmages than we've ever gotten, and guys stayed for the most part healthy, just a testament to all the people that put a lot of time and effort into making it happen. So want to start by just thanking all those people. And, then I'll open it up for questions, but just overall, just thought it was a very, very good fall for us. Definitely love the direction we're moving in a lot of different areas. So now it's just a matter of meeting with our players post-fall, which I'll start today, and letting them know what their strengths are, what their weaknesses are that we've identified over the last 7 weeks, what they need to work on, who needs to get stronger, who needs to get a little quicker, who needs to work on a secondary pitch. Just take all the information we got over the last 7 weeks and meet with guys one-on-one, and I will do that. And then our hitting coach and pitching coach will meet with them individually on top of that, just to make sure that we're all on the same page for where they need to go moving into the next 3 months, November, December, January, before we get back to put a team together for February. So happy to answer any questions.
All right, we'll start with Dave.
Mark, thanks for doing this. I'm sure you guys had a list or, goals throughout this whole fall practice session. Is there one of those goals or issues that you thought that maybe you didn't get as clear of an answer as you wanted to through this fall session?
In terms of identifying that we had enough talent, we wanted to make sure that the team that we were watching work out every day for 7 weeks, the first goal was to make sure, okay, we've put together enough talent on the field that we can feel really good about once the season starts. We wanted to be able to identify that, and I think we have identified that. That was a big goal. Number one is just the overall group, what you need to compete at a very high level in the SEC, and I think we found out that it is. Is every role figured out on the team yet? No, it's not. We have some ideas. At this point, you have some guys that have played really well and some guys that maybe have struggled a little bit. So do we have some ideas what direction positions or roles are going? Yeah, we do. But I never put anything in ink after the fall. I've just seen too many guys have tough falls and then turn into All-Americans in the spring. And we've all seen guys that we label Fall Americans that just can't do it during the season when the real lights turn on and there's an opponent in the other dugout. So we learned a lot about our team. We learned about the maturity level of freshmen and which guys are going to be able to step in right away, which guys need a little bit of developmental time. We've learned which veterans have taken that next step, and we've had a lot of guys do that. So we learned a lot about our team. Do we have all the final answers yet? No, that's what the spring will be. We'll get about 5 to 6 weeks of individual plus team time before the season starts. And we may get more depending on when they allow us to start playing games. But we learned a lot about our team in terms of we're happy with where that group is right now.
Colin?
Yeah, Mark, I guess where have you seen or which players have you seen the most growth in from whether the time you guys broke in March to now or from the time the fall started? Who have you seen take the biggest leap forward?
I think the first guy you have to look at is Julian Bosnick. This is a guy that we knew was talented. We signed him out of Tampa a couple years ago, and he had Tommy John his freshman year. And then last year he was going to eat up some good innings out of the bullpen for us, and he showed progress coming off the Tommy John. But now that he's further away from that surgery, he's just really blossomed. And he's a competitive guy. He's a lefty that's up to 95 miles an hour, but he also has great off-speed stuff. He's just a guy that really has developed into a very, very important piece for us. I would say he's the first guy that hops off the board in terms of improvement. From a position player standpoint, I'd have to say Brady Allen just continues to be one of the more polished baseball players that you'll see. He came in here talented a couple of years ago and played a lot as a freshman and had some ups and downs. But in terms of his overall maturity and how he plays the game, he just plays it now at a very mature level. He's a gamer. He gets on base at a very, very high rate, whether it's with hits or with walks. He's had a 3-to-1 strikeout to walk ratio this fall, which is incredible. So I just think you're looking at those two guys. If you're just looking at, maybe one representative from the hitters and from the pitchers, those are the first two guys that come to mind.
Go next to Brad Muller.
Hey, Coach. In terms of the newcomers, I know they could be a fall American, like you said, but who's made the biggest impact or impressed you the most amongst the newcomers so far this fall?
Well, there's a lot. I mean, it was a bigger group, so there's a lot of guys that I would say made an impact this fall. Brandon Fields was probably the hitter among the freshmen that made the biggest impact this fall. Hit for power, stole 11 bases. As a work in progress at center field, and at the plate, he struck out too much. So he's a very talented guy, but he also is a guy that needs work and needs more polish, just like I talked about with Brady Allen. But I would say he probably of the freshman hitters made the biggest impact. Among the pitchers of the freshmen, I mean, a lot of them looked really good. I mean, it's hard to signal out just one. Statistically, Phipps had the best fall for us. But you're also looking at, the Cottos, the Sanders, the Austins. There's a lot of them. Leansman, Swigert. I mean, just one after another. And I apologize if I'm forgetting one of the guys. But I would say the pitching freshman made a really big impact on our fall and give us a lot of optimism for the future. So again, they're all works in progress. Playing at the SEC level is a lot different than playing at the high school level or even the junior college level sometimes. So these guys will not be perfect. They'll have some tough days. They'll have some great moments. And so it's up to us just to teach them how to be consistent. That'll be probably the biggest focus we have especially with our freshmen, is teaching them how to be consistent. And a lot of that comes from preparation. They need to learn how to prepare on a daily basis. But we're very, very hopeful that this can be a very, very impactful group for us.
Oh, Greg Hadley.
Hey, Mark. The last time we talked, you kind of mentioned the collective increase in velocity just across the entire pitching staff. And I was kind of curious, is that something you're recruiting towards? Is that something you're building up once you get on campus? How much of a focus is that for you to get that increased velocity?
I just think it's a combination of everything. It's a combination of recruiting combined with them getting stronger in the weight room with Billy Anderson. Then you throw in Skylar, who has a lot of really good things he works on with our guys that help the velocity. I think you're seeing velocity spike up everywhere around the country. I don't think we're the only program that you're seeing has this type of velocity. Maybe we have more of it and more depth of it. But I just think it's a combination of everything. It's recruiting, it's development in the weight room, it's development with the pitching coach. I think all those things really matter.
John Whittle.
Yeah, you had a really long list of potential weekend starters going into the fall. Were you able to narrow that down a little bit beyond Brandon and Thomas?
If I had to make a decision today, which I don't, we still have 3 months. But if we were playing a series this weekend, you'd be looking at Jordan, Farr, and Bosnick probably, and what that order would be at this point, I don't know. We've had discussions. Do you just go with the two vets and then let Bosnick go on a Sunday if that's the way you went? Do you try to put the lefty in the middle of the two righties? There's a lot of things to still be determined, and we don't have a series this weekend. So all three of those guys still need to continue to develop and get better, because there's a lot of guys right on their heels. We mentioned some guys already that very easily could be weekend starters as well. So if we had a series, that's probably the three you're looking at. But again, there's still a lot to be determined. A lot of development time still over the next 3 months.
Dave.
Mark, you mentioned that you haven't had your player meetings yet, but knowing that there will have to be a couple of roster decisions made, has anybody come to you and said that they're thinking maybe of sitting out or moving on somewhere?
No, not yet. I don't know if we'll see any of that right now. I think there's a really good vibe in our program right now, and guys are really enjoying being a part of it. And some of those things still may not happen until January and February. We don't have to make a lot of moves, and we don't have to make a lot of adjustments. But occasionally guys just kind of see the writing on the wall, and they think maybe, hey, I'm just not going to get the innings I'm hoping for. I'm not going to get the at-bats I was hoping for. And, sometimes you get surprises, but I don't anticipate any of that right now. I could be wrong, but I see a lot of guys that really enjoy being in this program, and they're going to try to be in this program. But again, sometimes playing time is king, and I respect that. And so if we get any of those surprises, we'll meet with guys one-on-one and have those open and honest conversations and always talk about what's best for them and what's best for the program.
And how many cuts do you have to make? Is it just one or two?
Well, by NCAA rule, the NCAA has allowed teams to have unlimited rosters this year, but here at South Carolina, for Title IX reasons, we have been given a number of 40 on our roster. Now, George Khalil would be the 41st. He does not count against that number because of the senior waiver, because of COVID. So we currently have 43 guys, and when we open up for the first game of the year, we'll be allowed to have 41, counting George, on that active roster. Now, there's a lot of different things you can do with the two guys that don't make that team. They can still stay in the program, but they're not allowed to practice. But there's different options. So again, we'll have to figure those things out in terms of what's best for them, what's best for the program. But that probably won't be done in the near future. It'll be done more probably next semester.
Go to Brad.
Hey, Coach. Looked like last year in the short season, Wes Clark was having a breakout year, hitting the long ball. What do you attribute to his growth from his first year, and where do you see him now? What's his role this year?
Yeah, he's just a big, strong guy, and he's gotten stronger. Billy has done such a great job with our guys in the weight room, and Wes is probably the poster child for guys getting bigger and stronger. He's always had a good swing. He's got a good, flat, compact swing, and when he's taking his best swing, he's one of the better hitters, I think, in the country. But he's just got a lot bigger and stronger here. So balls that used to be doubles now are homers. And I just think he's a guy that really wants to be great. He studies the game. He studies the craft of hitting. He's in the weight room all the time, even outside of time with Billy. So he's just a guy that loves to work on hitting, loves to work on getting stronger. His role in the team will be hitting in the middle of the lineup, and then he can play first, he can DH, and he's also probably not at the top of the list in terms of catching, but he's a guy that has made a lot of progress behind the plate defensively as well. So he's an option back there, a viable option. So he's a very, very important part of our team, no question about it. And he's one of the older guys that he's been in the program now. This is his third year. So I would say he's one of the guys that our younger guys look up to and try to figure out, how do I handle my business? And he's one of the guys that you point to and say, work like this guy and you'll be just fine.
Go next to Colin.
Mark, I guess 2018 was obviously a struggle offensively for you guys, and you guys got better before things got canceled in 19. Just how have you seen the offense progress this year, and where do you feel like it is right now at the end of fall ball?
Well, you're off by a year, Colin. It was 19 that we struggled. It was 20 that we were getting going again, and then 21. But
Right.
I won't show you up in front of everybody here.
I'm a journalist. I don't do math so well.
You've had some things on your mind the last month, so I'll overlook that.
Yeah.
I just think it's, from a personnel standpoint, we're in a good spot. From a development standpoint, we're in a good spot. I anticipate this being a very, very good offensive team. And I tell these guys, there are times that they got it handed to them this fall because they were facing such good pitching. And I think that's good for their development. There were days guys went 0 for 4 and struck out twice, or a guy took a hat trick. That happens in the big leagues. That happens in SEC play. And when you're facing great pitching on a regular basis, you're going to have some days that just you get it handed to you. But that's also good for the development of a hitter to learn, okay, how do I bounce back from this? How do I deal with it mentally? Is the game telling me, and is this type of pitching telling me what I need to tweak in my approach and my swing? So I anticipate this being a good offensive club. I think that you started to see the signs of that last year. We had it in 18. We had a really good team in terms of national rankings and how we ranked within the SEC offensively. And I think this team will be much more similar to that.
John Whittle.
It seemed to me, being at some of those scrimmages, that y'all struggle a little bit defensively in center field. First of all, is that fair? And B, how do you challenge those guys to get better between now and the start of the season from what they're doing out there? Is it just reps, or is there something else there?
Yeah, struggle may be a bit of a reach, but here's what I would say to that, John. Jackie Bradley Jr. is the standard here in center field. So if that's the standard, yeah, we did not play well enough in center field this fall. Do I anticipate that improving? Yeah, I do. We've got two guys out there that can really run. We've got guys out there that have shown they can play the position, but for whatever reason, we just had a few games where they took a bad angle or a ball was dropped, that shouldn't have been dropped. I just think we just need to keep getting them reps. They need to keep playing games, and generally, outfield play improves the more you just play. You can work on it in practice, but the angles, knowing where to throw the ball, those things come with just getting reps in games, and that's why we'll just try to play as many games as we can. And I think we'll see progress in those guys. Talent-wise, I mean, you're looking at a 6'5" runner and a 6'6" runner. Plenty of arm strength for both of those guys. But we'll also, they'll also be pushed by guys that have speed and talent to go out there as well. You could see conceivably a Braylon Wimmer go out there. He's a 6'4" runner on scout days, and he can really track it out there. And Brady Allen can play center field in a pinch too. So we'll have options out there. That's not something that keeps me up at night. Got a lot of great options out there. Now it's just a matter of who continues to develop and who continues to just minimize the things that you say, hey, that can't happen.
Back to Brad Muller.
Hey, Coach, I know everything's open right now, but as you head into the spring, are there certain positions maybe where there's the best position battle, maybe where you have guys that are really close, that are fighting it out, and are there certain guys that you just have to have out there somewhere?
Well, I mean, I think anybody that watches us play and is familiar with us knows that a Malone's probably going to be in the lineup, and a Heinrich's probably going to be in the lineup, and an Eister and a Brady Allen, those guys are going to be in the lineup, and there's others. I would say, George Khalil has taken a nice step this fall and really shown us that he can play a high-level shortstop, and his offense has gotten better as well. He's also pushed by Michael Robinson, who had a really probably our most improved player this fall, was a good junior college shortstop, but came in maybe a little bit slow. And by the end of the fall, by the World Series, he was playing step for step with George. And then you have Vasquez there at shortstop as well, who's a very talented player, but needs to get stronger, needs to get more consistent, needs to just get used to what this level is all about. So I think that's a very interesting position to watch. John mentioned center field. I think that's a very interesting position to watch. And then first base, it could be Wes Clark, it could be Satterfield, it could be David Mendham. We've got a lot of options there as well. So, and then catching wise, I feel really good catching, between Burgess, who's taken that next step as a player and is really looks like a very, very high level SEC catcher. But Boychuk is a very talented freshman who I think will be very good for us. And then mentioned Wes Clark probably is the number 3 catcher in that group right now, and Mendham can catch as well. So I would say those are the positions you look at and you say, hey, there's a lot of options, but truth be told, I think there's options at every position on the field. I think depth right now is one of the things we're very comfortable with. So if a guy goes down, I think at every spot we have a very, very good representative of our program that can be the next man up. So that's something I feel pretty good about.
Go to Dave.
Mark, have you gotten any word from the SEC or NCAA about an ETA for a potential schedule or just a schedule format about what it might look like?
We've had discussions and we had a head coaches meeting last week, and that's usually the first topic of discussion, and everybody throws in their 2 cents. Long story short, they still don't have any answers. I think everybody would love to be status quo at this point. I think a lot of people have watched what's happened with football, and they're playing just each other. I think the number was 5 teams have a winning record right now out of the entire group. I don't think anybody likes that. I think if we can play a 56-game schedule that includes our non-conference games, I think that's what everybody's still holding out hope for that we can do. I think the fact that basketball is playing non-conference games gives me a little hope that we'll be able to do the same, since we're an outdoor sport, since we're not as in close contact as athletes during a game. So that gives me hope that we'll be able to do status quo. It's just a matter of, do they allow it? Does everybody agree to that? And and is that the direction they want to go? So everything is still on the table. As one extreme is all SEC games, with the opposite extreme is status quo. Where we land still is anybody's guess.
Colin?
Yeah, Mark, I guess you signed 15 guys yesterday in your 2021 recruiting class. I'm just curious your overall thoughts on them and what is the potential for these guys you've signed?
Yeah, it's another good class. Every class is different because sometimes you need bigger numbers, and sometimes those bigger numbers in terms of volume get you ranked higher, and sometimes you sign less guys and the rankings are a little bit lower. And sometimes fans say, well, you were 5th one year and 15th the next. Does that mean it's 10 spots lower in terms of the talent? Sometimes that's not the case. We're not like football or basketball where we generally sign the same amount of guys each year. To answer your question, it's a good group. There's a lot of really good players in this group. It probably leans a little more position heavy, where last year leaned a little bit more pitching heavy in terms of the impact. So I think it's a class that will really complement this previous class. So again, very, very optimistic about where it's going.
Back to Brad.
Coach, you talked about the starters starting pitching a little bit earlier in terms of the back end of pitching or in your bullpen. How comfortable are you with what you have right now, or is that still to be determined in terms of your setup guys, your 8th inning guy, closers, things like that? Or who's shown you stuff in the fall?
Well, I would say I'm very comfortable with who we have back there, but also there still is a lot to be determined. Again, using if we played a series this weekend, who would be our closer? Brett Carey is our closer right now. And he's a guy that loves to start and wants to start, but on this club, his best role probably will be closer. Again, things change all the time, and what you believe today can change in a week or a month. But if we had to play a series this weekend, I think he is best equipped to be our closer right now. But there's a lot of other guys, a lot of power arms, and I'm anxious to see out there with the lights turned on because we saw them pitch really well this fall, but things get ratcheted up and there's more adrenaline when there's another team in the dugout. So just really excited. We're going to be able to throw a lot of power arms at guys out of the bullpen, which is what baseball is evolving into. But by the same token, we also have some guys that I think, will be able to have really good pitchability and get guys out that way too. So I think what you'll see and what our fans will see is this is a staff that has a bunch of power arms. So my emphasis to our group is pitchability will still never go out of style. And some of the tiebreakers for you guys in terms of who gets more innings may be your pitchability. Do you walk less guys than your competitor? Do you throw your breaking ball at any time? Those things are still important. Pitchability never goes out of style. So we'll have a bunch of power arms to pick from, and what separates one from the next may be just their overall ability to pitch, keep guys off balance, throw strikes, and get us one good inning after another.
Eric Boynton.
Yeah, Coach, I was trying to wait to the very end if you could indulge me for just a second to talk about a player no longer on your roster. But could you tell me a little bit about the kind of player and the kind of person Graham Lawson was for your program? Yeah,
Graham, he bled garnet and black. There's no question about that. He's a guy we're very, very happy got a professional opportunity. And I'm happy that it was with the Cubs because that's a team I played with way back when. So very excited for his opportunity. He was a guy that overcame adversity time and time again and had a lot of ups and downs in our program. But he's a guy you really root for because he cares about the program. He cares about his teammates. And he's a guy that was returned. The program cares about him. His teammates cared about him. So he's a guy we'll follow his progress very closely. And he has the talent, if he can stay healthy, if he continues to get better. I mean, it's a power arm and has a real quality breaking ball. He's a guy you can see have some success in pro ball. So we'll, like all our guys, we'll really be rooting for him at that next level.
Thank you so much.
You got it.
John Whittle.
You guys were able to go through the entire 7 weeks of practice without having any COVID cases, any guys missing time, having to shut down or anything like that. What does it say about your guys' commitment from that standpoint and the universities to be able to go through to be able to go through 7 weeks of practice like that?
Yeah, again, I think it's a testament to everybody. And I mentioned at the beginning, just very thankful for all the work that everybody put in, our administration, equipment people, athletic training people, strength people, managers, groundskeepers, players, just everybody, the staff. It just took so many people to try to get through this fall. And you know what? It also takes some luck. And let's be honest, it takes some luck to get through it, because you can do everything right. And then something happens and you find out a guy or two has it. And then the dominoes start falling, like you're seeing with some football programs across the country. So to me, it takes a village. We say that all the time, and everybody really did their part. And I tip my hat to everybody that we got through this fall unscathed, because 7-8 weeks ago, the odds would have been against it.
Yeah, going into it, did you think that this would be that would be a possibility?
I thought it would have been foolishly optimistic to think that we could get through 7 weeks and get the number of at-bats and play the number of innings and have everybody participate the way we did. So yeah, 2 months ago, this would have been an absolute long shot. So very, very appreciative of everything that went on.